Hello, and welcome to She Leads Biotech, the podcast that celebrates women leaders in the bioscience space. I'm your host, Sharron Cox, CEO and Managing Director of CNA International, based right here in New York. And each week I'll be talking to women leaders about their work, their triumphs and challenges, providing invaluable insight into how women can unlock their superpowers and succeed on their own terms. So whether you're navigating your own career path in bioscience or you're passionate about science and innovation, I hope you're empowered and inspired by each episode. Today's guest has spent her career turning cutting-edge science into real-world solutions. With a background in biochemistry, molecular biology, and pluripotent stem cell research, and pluripotent stem cell research, she began in academia, driven by pure curiosity. But it was the desire to make science useful that led her to industry. First as a scientist, then as a team leader, and eventually as a key player in building the UK's cell and gene therapy sector. Now, she's helping bring a regenerative therapy for hearing loss from lab bench to bedside, leading a small, mission-driven team that's aiming to restore natural hearing where devices and drugs have fallen short. She's a mentor, a builder, and a firm believer in doing what works, not what's just written in the job description. So please welcome the Chief Technology Officer of Rinri Therapeutics, Terri Gaskell. Hey, Terri, good afternoon.
Hello, good evening, as it is here in the UK. Yes.
Good evening for you, of course it is, yes. And whereabouts are you in the UK?
I'm in London, southeast London, near Greenwich.
Okay.
Not my hometown. I'm from near Manchester originally, from up north.
I was going to say, we're probably, between the two of us, we're going to need to have subtitles for the entire episode for our American audiences who
Yes.
Who still seem to struggle with the British words. But
I'll try and speak very clearly then.
It doesn't seem to make a lot of difference. I can't tell you how many friends I have. They love BritBox, this TV station that only shows British shows. They love all the British shows, but they watch them all with the subtitles on.
Crazy.
But
and we think we're so clear.
I know. It's day, but there you go. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time out to join us and giving up your evening to have a chat. I'm intrigued as to how you started in the biospace and what was your journey like?
Yeah, it started off all very traditional academic route, to be honest. I did a degree in biochemistry at the University of Dundee, so I headed even further north to Scotland to do my sort of academic studies. Just fascinated by how stuff works. I like kind of understanding how things worked and how they didn't work, and then the kind of disease processes and things. So that's really what, just that curiosity. And my brother dismantled things in a mechanical way, and I dismantled things in a more theoretical way. And then I went on and did a PhD in Edinburgh, so moved a little bit south, in molecular biology and genetics, using sort of fission yeast as a model organism of just, again, dissecting pathways and figuring out what can go wrong and what can we learn from that in terms of sort of human biology and human pathology and those kind of really fundamentals. And that was my kind of career path. I was like, okay, I want to be an academic. I want to spend my life kind of just figuring out new stuff, which is always really exciting when you get that piece of data and you're the first person who knows this. It might not be the most mind-blowing piece of data ever, but that kind of first kind of step on the moon kind of thing. So I did my PhD, and then I did my first postdoc at the Human Reproductive Sciences Unit, as it was called in those days, up in Edinburgh, looking at germ cell development and the impact of steroid hormones, so estrogen, on male germ cells, so looking at sort of testicular cancer development. So again, really immersing myself, I became more of a kind of cell developmental biologist, sort of not necessarily deliberately, but just kind of straight into it, and just fascinated by cell biology and how things work at that real kind of molecular level. And then I went on and did a second postdoc, again, really engaging in cell developmental biology. And that was when I went to the Institute for Stem Cell Research, still in Edinburgh, a real kind of powerhouse really in sort of stem cell research at the time. And Edinburgh is still really strong in that field. And that's where I was introduced to the joyous world of pluripotent stem cells and that huge potential. And this was back in the kind of early 2000s, showing my age now, when everyone, like the hype around pluripotent stem cells and how we, within 20 years, we'll just be replacing any worn out bits of people and it'll all be fine and we'll save the world. Now, 25 years later, we're not quite there, but actually what we can do now is stuff that was real science fiction back then. And that's really what I find exciting. Pluripotent stem cells, I think just the potential of them back then was really exciting. And I wanted to do, I'd done 9 years then as a postdoc. So quite a long time for someone who's now in biotech. I loved academia. I loved the kind of the freedom of the research and the environment that you're in. But I really wanted to do more translational work. I wanted to see how do you get this actually to something that's useful to people. This is kind of academically very interesting, but what's a translational pathway look like?
Yeah, what good's it going to be to anybody?
Yeah, it's like, this is all terribly interesting and we're all fascinated and congratulating ourselves on doing this stuff, but are we actually doing anything useful? And that's when I started looking, and this was sort of around kind of 2007-ish, I would say, looking at how did I make that move from academia into industry, which now I think is a lot easier. I still think it's a little bit intimidating, but we can kind of come to that. But back then it was a real, like, oh my goodness, you've like sold your soul to the dark side if you go into industry. And it was actually quite hard to translate my skills into something that industry were looking for. And I think it's just that I didn't know how to present what I'd done. So it's like, I'm just a postdoc, I'm just a scientist. But actually I had project management skills, I had team leadership skills, I had all of this kind of extra kind of translational soft skills, budget management, all of those things I'd done, but not quite knowing how to present that was really difficult. So I kind of looked around and tried to find roles in industry. It took me a little while to find the right role. And then I was really, I guess, fortunate that a company called Salatis, a Swedish stem cell company, had a lab back up in Dundee. So I went back to Dundee and joined Salatis as a scientist. So I kind of, in some ways, took a step back. I was quite a senior postdoc at the time, and I just took a sort of basic level scientist role. I'm going to do this. I just want to make the move. So I went in there as a scientist, utterly terrified, thinking, oh my goodness, these are all commercial industrial scientists. They're a whole different beast. They're not at all. They're just scientists. And that was a great team. And I think for me, it was just kind of facing the fear and doing it anyway. So that's a bit corny, but I was really making, for me, a really big step away from my kind of comfort zone in academia. But it was absolutely the best move for me. It's not the best move for everyone, but I like the pace of industry and certainly kind of biotech, smaller companies, that we're all in this together and we're all just trying to answer a question. I think was really exciting. And I just got the opportunity to kind of grow in that role. And within a year, I was principal scientist. And then within 18 months, I was leading the team. I got to collaborate with Novo Nordisk and really just the exposure I got in. I was only there for 2 years, but the exposure I got in that role to kind of different types of industries, so biotech, big pharma, and really just the different focus of, we don't just get to follow interesting stuff. We're actually, there is a question and there might be different ways to answer that question, but you can't deviate. It's like, no, this is what we're doing. And it's like, yeah, that's really interesting, but it's not on the path. It's not answering that.
You've got to stick to the line with this. Stick
to the program here. This is what we're trying to do. And there are time limits and there's a lot more, I guess, accountability in that kind of, there are monthly meetings and you have to justify what you've done with your time. But it was a great experience and I loved that role and the people I met there were fantastic and now still friends with some of them. And that started to form the basis of the network that I have now. We had collaborations with people in the University of Glasgow and people in the University of Dundee. So that real kind of collaborative working, which I think is a real strength, certainly in biotech and in the sort of stem cell field, especially because it's a relatively small world. And that networking, collaboration, sharing the pain and sharing ideas has been really great. And then after a couple of years at Salatis, I moved down south to near Cambridge and worked for a sort of another small company. It wasn't a spin out from university. It was just a kind of reagents company that was a startup company. And again, that was really, really interesting. I went in as kind of principal scientist with someone that I'd worked with at Salatis. Within a couple of years, I was CSO, which was kind of scary, mainly because there were only 3 of us in the company and we just divvied up the titles.
What do you want to be today?
Yeah, it's probably good. I don't fancy the CEO thing. That looks like hard work. I'll be CSO. But again, I was CSO, I was lab manager, I was cleaning, I was doing production, I was ordering, I was tech support, I was doing all this stuff, which was, I mean, learning how to multitask point of view was really exciting. And again, it kind of forced me out of my comfort zone. Like, I'm in a position now where I have to make the decisions and I have to stand by those decisions, and they really mean something. It's not just, will I get a publication or which obviously is life and death for academics, but it was really like, okay, this is a company decision, and it has implications for cash flow, it has implications for all these things. So again, a really good experience. And that was looking at reagents and consumables, again, mostly focused on pluripotent stem cells, but also just cell biology in general. But I felt, again, like I'd kind of strayed away from that translational angle that I really wanted to get into. So my next move, after, again, just a couple of years, so I kind of bounced between a couple of jobs, but I learned so much. It was such an intense time at both of them, and the exposure I got was fantastic. And then I went and joined the kind of newly born cell and gene therapy catapult, or cell therapy catapult as it was at the time. We weren't even the gene in there at that point.
It was just the cell, not the gene at that point.
Yeah, we picked up the genes later. So we were just cell therapy catapult at that point. And I joined as a program manager, which is hilarious now because I had not a project management qualification to my name. I didn't really know what it meant. And I think as an organization, we had this remit and we had amazing people. Still are amazing people there to build the industry. And looking back now, sort of 12 years ago, it's hard to see how far we've come and not be kind of like, wow, that's amazing. Because back then it was this cell therapy stuff. It's got real potential, but there wasn't really an industry around it. Right. And now there's lots of spin-out companies, manufacturing centers, CDMOs. There's the whole kind of infrastructure, which I'm not claiming me and the cell and gene therapy catapult did everything, but I think it gave something for everything to focus around. And again, for me, was a great experience. I went in as a program manager, not really know what it meant, but essentially it's just leading projects and getting stuff done, which is something I quite like doing.
I could do that.
Yeah, solving problems, which in biotech is kind of a daily task, because there's always something new. You're like, oh, I didn't realize that was going to happen. There's always every day.
Not unlike recruitment at the moment, I have to say.
I'm sure. I mean, yeah, it's tough times out there at the minute. So I joined not quite knowing what to expect, and again was slightly sort of intimidated because it was sort of, okay, I've been a scientist all this time. I then completely stepped away from the lab, which felt like a bit of a wrench at the time, although it was nice to get my weekends back. So that was, again, another big move kind of into the unknown of quite sure that I have the right skill set for this, but I seem to be quite good at getting people to do stuff. So that's always a bonus. And I really like building teams, and I like motivating people and getting them through the sort of, okay, this is hard, but we all just have to get through it. And it will be worth it, and the rewards and the benefits are worth this kind of struggle. So after a couple of years, I ended up as head of program management, so kind of leading the team, which again was a real kind of new thing for me. There were I think I had 9 direct reports at one point, which, as anyone will tell you, is probably about 5 too many. But it was a very flat structure, and there's no real way to structure it that I didn't think would ruin the team dynamic. So I just kind of sucked it up and took it on the chin at appraisal time.
Just come to me with your problems one at a time, please.
Yes, yeah. So, but it was great. I mean, a fantastic team of really kind of motivated and sort of high skilled individuals. So it wasn't like the hardest team to lead. But it was really exciting. And while I was there, Catapult, again, I got exposure to so many, because the whole model was collaboration, and we didn't really have our own products as such that we developed. We did license one in, and I did have the absolute privilege of being able to run a clinical program, which was an amazing experience, and again gave me that real exposure that I would not have got somewhere else, coming with no clinical background at all. So obviously I wasn't involved in the actual patient side of stuff, but just understanding what it takes to put a clinical trial together has been absolutely valuable experience. So that was kind of my program, and then I looked after the whole portfolio through my team. So it gave me such amazing exposure to how things can work, how things maybe should work, the theory, and then there's the harsh reality of what you can actually do. The whole life cycle from that kind of early development translation side through to looking at health economics, access, why it's so important to do that sooner rather than later, and all of that real just kind of wealth of knowledge that I was able to just absorb from the sort of seven and a half years I was at at Catapult was incredible. And of course, met amazing people in Catapult and then the wider network that I got to interact with. And that has just been amazing. I have to say, it's been the sort of the kind of key thing for me from my time at Catapult was just everything I learned. I hope I did some good and contributed as well. But for me, it was an amazing experience, worked with great people who just gave me the opportunity and allowed me to just kind of run with it sometimes and come up with some slightly crazy ideas and go, you know what, that might not be completely mad. We'll let you give it a go. And
let's try it, see what happens.
So that was an amazing experience.
A brief interruption for a quick shout out to our sponsor, Facilitate, the team behind Advanced Therapies Week. If you've never been, it's the gathering for the global cell and gene therapy community, happening February 9th through 12th in San Diego. Over 2,000 leaders come together for real conversations, new ideas, and the kind of connections that actually move the industry forward. And this year, one of the standout parts is the Women in Advanced Therapies Congress, a space built to connect and uplift women and allies across biotech, science, investment, and strategy. It's always full of honest stories, strong voices, and real community. You can grab your ticket at facilitate.com/Advanced Therapies Week. And if you use the code SHELEADS20, you'll get 20% off. That's SHELEADS 20. And I'm going to be there. So come and find me and say hello.
But again, I mean, Catapult now is a quite big organization and doing great things across, again, helping spinouts all the way through to the ATTCs and really at the clinical end of things and helping adoption and making sure that the in the UK is ready for these new therapies that are coming through, because they do change the whole paradigm of treatment. And so there's a lot of work to be done. For me, I think I kind of hit the ceiling of the size of company that I particularly wanted to be part of. And I was just like, you know what, I think I much prefer being in that smaller kind of scrappy biotech end of things. And so what I'd really love to do. Those at Catapult go around going, oh, you should do this. And speaking to spin out companies going, I really think you should do this. It'd be a great idea. I was like, really kind of have to put my money where my mouth is now. Can I take all of this accumulated knowledge and go and be useful actually in a company where I've got more kind of...
Like you hadn't been before?
Well, yeah. You know what I mean?
You've been more than useful everywhere else you'd been.
I hope so. I like to hope so. But it was that real, I just want to be in the middle of something again, where I've got that sense of sort of accountability and ownership. And not that you don't when you're working with other people, but I think just that kind of skin in the game is motivating. Being part of a small team and building a team again, I find really exciting.
It's all that wearing the different hats and being really prepared to turn your hand to anything that comes up, because there isn't anybody else to do it, right? We need to write this SEO. We need to have this. We need to,
who's going to be biological safety officer? Like, yes, I'll be me then.
That's me today. Okay.
Yeah, and like we got our new lab in the university, and Simon and I, the CEO, it was during COVID, and we're like, oh, we can't get cleaning people. So it was like, we'll just do it. So we were in there with our marigolds scrubbing the lab before everyone came in. It's like, you just do what needs to be done. I find that really quite sort of energizing to just look at the problem and go, okay, how do we break this down? How do we approach this? I'm not precious about, oh, is that my job? Is that not my job? I couldn't give monkeys about that. So it's really, for me, it's that, what is this problem we're all trying to solve? And surrounding myself with people that are like-minded, and everyone really is prepared to just roll their sleeves up, not pointing the blame. If something goes wrong, it's not oh, this is all your fault. It's like, okay, how do we fix this? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? But everyone's doing their best. And if something goes wrong, then something goes wrong, and you just got to deal with it.
There's no need to apportion blame.
It's not helpful
for anything. Because it's not going to get it fixed. So you're at Rinri. Is it Rinri?
Rinri Therapeutics.
Rinri
Yes.
Therapeutics. I'm going to be struggling with that for a while.
Yeah.
How long have you been with them?
Almost 5 years.
Oh, wow.
5 years.
And you're the Chief Technology Officer.
I am, yes.
For them.
Which is a great title.
Lovely
but
title.
It kind of means I do lots of stuff. So we've got quite a small team still. I was sort of the second full-time employee after the CEO. Our CSO is the academic founder. He's a great guy. He's been working on this for a very long time at the University of Sheffield. So the company is a spin-out from the University of Sheffield. And we are developing pluripotent stem cell derived therapies for hearing loss.
Okay.
So sensorineural hearing loss, so actually just replacing missing parts of the hearing system at a cellular level. So it's really exciting. It's back to what I said. It's stuff that was science fiction 30 years ago. And now it's like, oh, we're nearly in the clinic. We've got our clinical trial approval. So we're kind of in a really, really good place to hopefully take this body of work that the academic group have been working on for 25 years, if not more, and really test it out in the ultimate model organism. So it's really exciting. And we built on a fantastic team of scientists. We work still really, really closely with the academic group. We've now got our clinical team, and it's a really kind of collaborative atmosphere. And we've kind of just tried to recruit people who really believe in it almost, because I think it's hard. Biotech is hard because there's never enough time, there's never enough money, and there's never enough people. So you really have to commit and be prepared to, as we were saying before, just wear so many different hats and just do what needs to be done. And we have I think a really exciting product, a really exciting, we're going into an indication that really has been, I would say, quite poorly served over the years. They've got fantastic medical devices, but they have their limitations.
Yes.
So there's not been much in the way of sort of pharmaceuticals. There's been some exciting advances in gene therapy for certain sort of genetic causes of hearing loss in the last couple of years, which has been really, I think, quite game-changing and good for us, because it shows that the hearing system you can do something with it. You can replace parts of it. You can restore networks and things. So it's really exciting to sort of see the excitement in the field as well of hearing loss. We've done a lot of patient engagement. We've done a lot of clinician engagement as well with audiologists, with surgeons, and there's a real kind of buzz around it, which I think reflects on us. And it's like, okay, this is worth doing. People really want this.
Yes.
We're not just doing it for our own kind of interest. We're doing something that people really
actually want and need.
Yeah.
Will you be the
We will.
the first to actually have somebody with it'll
with
be
cell therapy in hearing loss
without them having to have a device of some description?
So our clinical trial will go alongside a cochlear implant. So we'll put our cells in alongside a cochlear implant. So without sort of getting too technical and boring everyone to death, the sort of hearing...
I'm fascinated. I want to...
The main sort of components of the sort of sensory neural hearing system are hair cells and neurons. So the hair cells pick up the sort of the movement in the fluid in the inner ear and take that kind of sound waves into sort of mechanotransduction into an electrical impulse, and then the electrical impulse goes down the nerves to the brainstem and is perceived as sound. So these are fairly fragile. What you're born with is all you get. So once they die off, then you start to progressively lose your hearing. And there are other indications of toxic drugs can wipe out hair cells. So they're relatively fragile and they don't regenerate naturally. So the medical devices that we have, so hearing aids and cochlear implants, can enhance or replace hair cell function. So actually detecting the sound. But they all rely on an intact neural network. So if you lost some of the neurons, then the signal getting to the brain is impaired. So it's either not there at all, or more often you've lost it in certain places. So it might represent frequency losses or just general lack of resolution. So you find that people struggle to make out sound in a sort of noisy background, so conversation in like a pub or something. So what we're doing is there are already the medical devices do quite a good job of replacing the hair cell function, but a lot of people have both hair cell and neural loss, and what we're doing is replacing the neurons. So It's a completely unmet medical need. At the moment, there's really nothing out there. So if you've lost the neurons, there's not really anything that can be done to replace them. So that's where we come along with our special cells that we've made from pluripotent stem cells. We surgically inject them. So it's the same, very similar surgical process as cochlear implants. So it's a small modification at the end of the cochlear implant kind of process where we will put the cells in and then the cochlear implant goes in as well. So that will replace the hair cell component. And then we're hopefully replacing the nerves. So it's really exciting. We're at this kind of cusp of the clinical trial. Excited to get started, really.
I just can't imagine, apart from sight, think. Obviously, if you have no sight and something happens and you can suddenly see again is incredible. But hearing as well, particularly if somebody has had, next to no hearing for a number of, maybe half their life or most of their life or all their life. And then to actually be able to hear for the first time, that must be incredible. I saw a thing on LinkedIn. I'm sure it was like a little video of a child that had some implant of something, and it more of a baby than anything, and just their face of the wonderment of what happened. I think that must be incredible work to be part of, to see the outcome of that.
We saw with the gene therapy trials in children last year, now must be a couple of years ago now, the first data came out, and that was incredible. So they had this sort of genetic hearing loss, which was really a functional thing in the neurons, and just replacing that one protein just made it work. And it's really quite miraculous. And to bring that back and to give people hearing back, and we talk with patients, and we've got a really amazing PPIE manager who we put together a patient advisory group, because we just really want to know that they want this. And it's like, we're not imposing this on anyone. Well, of course, I mean, it's a choice, but we want to know that we're doing something that means something to people. And those patient groups are really excited about the prospect of getting kind of more natural hearing back again, and being able to have that kind of speech in noise resolution, which I mean, obviously we don't have data to prove that yet. So we've got data showing that the nerves can engraft, and in an animal model they can improve sort of hearing threshold. So it's almost kind of the opposite way around. It reduces the volume at which you have to kind of put sound into to detect a response. It's really
still works in progress, but it's promising.
I mean, we're at the point where we're hopefully going to start the clinical trial, and that's the ultimate test of does it work in people, and that's what you can have all the models in the world, but they're just models until we actually get to do that. But it's exciting, and I'm really kind of happy with the way we've kind of built the company. We've kept it quite lean. We've really leaned on collaboration to do a lot of what we've done. So we've got quite a small internal team. There's only I think 13 full-time equivalents in the actual company, and then we still collaborate with our academic team. We collaborate with a CDMO to do the manufacturing and to really kind of do that final development process. We're working in a hybrid model with a CRO to run our clinical trial. We're collaborating with my old friends at Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult on some of the more development works. We've really worked with all of our network to bring in the right expertise at the right time, but keep the internal team quite lean, which I think in the current climate, keeping that kind of burn rate down is really important, to try and extend that kind of runway to get as far as we can with what we have.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good way of doing it, and culturally, you can kind of keep the culture when you've got a smaller team. And I think as the team grows, it's something you do have to be very conscious of, is to make sure that everyone feels included and that the culture is kind of maintained. I think that's quite important.
It's absolutely vital, particularly in a growing company, because most of my clients, in fact, all of my clients are kind of small emerging companies, and culture is the biggest area as they're growing, because it can very easily go awry. One wrong hire can literally affect the entire company. The path you're taking as it stands is clearly the right one for you, and it's working. So kudos to that. I want to talk to you about the Women in Advanced Therapies. Are you part of that group, the Women in Advanced Therapies? You are, aren't you?
Yes. So I've been to a couple of the Women in Advanced Therapies days now at the Advanced Therapies Europe meetings.
Yes,
I was part of the mentoring program that's just finished last year as a mentor, not a mentee, which I find quite traumatizing that I'm now one of the grown-ups.
You want to ask me something?
Oh my goodness, no, I'm not sure I have anything useful to say. So
what could I possibly say?
Yeah, it's like sometimes, oh no, I'm on the other side now. But yeah, I find that really interesting, because I still feel like I'm still learning all the time. I'm still trying to sort of improve on how I do things and what I do. But then you kind of look back and you think, okay, I've got quite a lot of experience from a lot of different environments, and I think it's really important that I share that with other people. This is just how I did it. You can do it differently, but this is my experience. This is what I've learned along the way. of just kind of staying true to what your values are and what your kind of motivators are and what makes you uniquely you and how you work. Yeah. And I think that not changing yourself to fit in a box is
comes
really
back
important.
to that authenticity bit again,
because
doesn't it?
You can't be at your best if you feel like you're kind of making yourself smaller or trying to be different than the way you are. And I think that the best advice I can give someone is to find a space where you're comfortable and you can thrive, and the people around you give you the space to do that. And when you're at a more junior level, you want someone who gives you the space to try stuff out, but you know they've got your back and you've got the safety. And that's what I've always tried to do with teams that I've managed or led, is to give people the chance to grow and to make some mistakes, but make sure that I'm there to kind of stop it going too badly wrong if it looks like it's going wrong, and to give advice and to just kind of guide and lead rather than micromanage, which just would drive me insane. So I think it's
don't want to do that.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I kind of, that be authentically you, I think is really important, and you shouldn't have to make yourself smaller so that other people don't feel threatened by you. And that's very much, I think, as a woman, well, I am a bit of a people pleaser, I think, and I don't like to upset people, and I don't like to kind of rock the boat. But I think over the years I've become a bit more, no, I have something to say here, and you don't have to take my opinion, but I'm at least going to voice it, and then we can decide what the best way forward is. But I will put my ideas forward, and I look back to when I was an academic, and I was never the person who put my hand up to ask a question because I was too scared of looking stupid or asking a stupid question or someone judging me for it. Whereas now I'm the first to just go, this might be a really stupid idea,
but I'm going to say it anyway.
I'm going to say it anyway. And I think that, that does come with age and experience and confidence, I think.
And then you don't care anymore. You're like, I don't care if you don't like this idea. I'm putting it out there.
It's like, I've got plenty more where that comes from, and some of them might be good. Yeah.
Yeah, let me go to the next one. What's the next one about?
Okay, that's clearly a rubbish idea. I've got more.
So we've got Advanced Therapies Week in February in San Diego. I'm actually very excited about it. I love San Diego, so I'm very excited to get back there.
I don't know if I'm going to be there. We'll see. But
well, if you are, then
we'll London.
Definitely meet up. But it's worth the trip. I really, really liked San Diego, and I was there for Bio 24. So it was just such a community. Obviously that was way bigger, but you were at Advanced Therapies Europe, weren't you? That happened not too long ago, and you were on a panel there. What can you tell us about what was happening? What was the air like? What was how were people feeling? Because I don't think it's unfair to say that the cell and gene therapy is a little bit of a roller coaster ride at the moment. The news from Gilead this morning was another kind of let's just take that one down a step.
Yeah.
But what was the feeling amongst the CGT community?
I think it was as you say, kind of slightly mixed emotions. It started off with an investment summit, and unfortunately I was in a board meeting, so I missed some of that. I think that the mood was not the most cheery, it has to be said, over the investment side of things. So that kind of everyone's, even if you're not looking for money now, people are very conscious of like the money doesn't last forever. So everyone's kind of looking at that. And obviously, attitudes have changed to risk have changed. I think the global economic issues are not helping anybody. Yep. And then when it comes to something that's perceived to be very risky, like cell and gene therapy, then that all kind of filters down. So there was a bit of kind of tension around funding and around sort of, when is this going to pick up again? We've all seen these cycles. I'm sure it will come around, but it's like we've been saying that for a couple of years now. It's like, this year it'll get better. Yeah. It's like, okay, it's not quite. So that was challenging. I would say it was a really well attended meeting. I think it was completely maxed out. It was a good atmosphere. There were lots of. I was at the meeting last year when it was in Portugal, which was also a really nice meeting. Just in terms of getting everyone together. It was very kind of collaborative and open. I really like it. There were also always lots of kind of panels. And I think people get comfortable in a panel and are kind of a bit more open than if they're just given a very kind of corporate presentation. So I think you can get a lot out of those panels and those discussions. And I would say people are pretty open to just kind of wandering up to them for a chat afterwards and going, I really like what you said there. Can we expand on that? So it's a good networking meeting. I find myself quite a lot of the time going, I really wanted to go to that session, but I've ended up speaking to like 4 people on the way there and then it's over. So yeah, I don't always get to all the sessions I want to go to because it's such a good opportunity to kind of catch up with people in person, which I love doing. I mean, online is great, but building relationships it's always good to do that.
It's kind of what it's about, really, isn't it? Particularly in times like this when it's tough. You know, you need that community.
I mean, you need a bit of that shared pain and have a good whinge, and then we all just pick ourselves up and get on with it. And I think that's definitely part of it as well. But also some like people from the sort of investment community just going, okay, this is kind of what we're looking for now, and this is what we need you to be doing, and this is how things need to be presented. And so that was kind of interesting. We had the Women in Advanced Therapies sort of afternoon on the first day just after the investment summit, which was always a really kind of nice environment. It wasn't exclusively women. There were a few brave men in there as well, which is what we need. I mean, it's not all about women doing it for women. We need everyone to
absolutely, kind of we need the allies in the room as well.
Yeah, and to just be there, understanding really about what it is. So that was great. So we had an opening panel. So I was chairing that panel with Kat, Karen, Avencia, and Myra at different stages of their careers who'd come into it from so a couple of them had come from more of a kind of corporate finance side of things. A couple of others were more kind of more like my kind of scientific background. So really, really nice kind of mix, talking about there are still challenges. How do we make things more inclusive? How do we make things accessible to women who might have small children? So every networking event being evening drinks is not helpful for everybody. So those real kind of practical things that we can do, and to be supportive and to kind of not go, all right, we've made it, we're just going to pull up the ladder and you guys can struggle along as well. I think it's not helpful. And we lose out on so much talent if we don't make it accessible and we don't make it possible for people to work in a way that is compatible with
that works for them
with their life.
And it can be done. It was proven it can be done. We all had to do it for a period of time.
I think that's it.
And I think it's a shame to not kind of to now almost be right. Well, okay, that's over with now. So now we want to go back to how we wanted it done. And sadly, the people that do that are not the ones that have the challenges that a lot of women face. I know there's a lot of men that face the challenges as well, but in reality it is a woman needs to get her kids to school and she's got to do this and she's got to do that, and so that degree of flexibility is certainly much needed. What would you say is the one thing that you came away from Advanced Therapies Europe that you think people should know?
Goodness. There was a lot of discussion about real technical stuff of sort of automation, and it's coming and we all need to engage with it. I was on another panel where we talked about sort of scale up and how do we're kind of moving beyond we have to prove these things work to we have to prove we can make them at a commercial scale and actually deliver them. And I think there's a lot of evidence, certainly for the CAR-Ts and things, where people go, okay, we believe you that there is clinical benefit of these, but can you actually deliver them to patients? And I think that's kind of the next challenge of it's almost like that, okay, you've done that, now next. And it's like, no, this is still really exciting. Like, this is still really exciting, but it's not really. But move on. It's like, okay. Now it's not all about clinical trials. We have to look at when these are mainstream. And a couple of people said, look, we believe that these will become mainstream, but in order to do that, we need to fix the kind of end of this, which is the scale, the automation, the robustness, the delivery, all of that end of things we really need to focus on. So I think from a technical point of view, that was kind of it feels like a bit of a sea change from maybe a few years ago when it was all can we even make these to a point where we can get them to a clinical trial? And now people are like, okay, we actually believe that these are going to be the medicines of the future. We actually just have to prove we can do it now. I think the other sort of theme that came out a lot, and it's something that really does resonate with me, is this theme of collaboration, of there's enough space. Yes, there's competition, but there's always that kind of pre-competitive space where people can collaborate to kind of move everything along. And I think also, I mean, as I explained earlier, the sort of model we've taken of you can't try and do everything yourself. So the best way you can progress is to draw from other people's experience and go, okay, we're at this stage now, we need this experience. Where is the best place to go for that? And that kind of collaboration is key to really progress efficiently. Yeah, you can do it all yourself, but it's not effective.
They are a pretty collaborative community, aren't they? The cell and gene therapy people.
Yeah.
I've always found that they're very,
it's always very friendly and very open, as much as we can within the constraints of commerciality and everything else. But it is a very kind of open and collaborative community. And I think if someone new coming into it, I spoke to a couple of guys from a company called Ptolemy, and they come from a different background into the sort of cell and gene space, and they were at that meeting. They're like, this is a really friendly bunch of people. Like, people will give you advice, and it's like, it costs me nothing to go, you know what, I've tried that, it really doesn't work, I wouldn't go there. And you can save someone a year by just going, don't do it, or actually maybe you should think of this instead, or just to give that advice. And it's sort of, I do think people are very willing to do that in the cell and gene space. And I don't know if it's because it is still a relatively new industry that we all feel like we have to build something, and it's that whole kind of rising tide thing. It's like no one wants to see anybody fail, because it's kind of bad for everybody. So
yes, there's no winners, is there? It's getting it through for everybody, and then everybody wins. So I find it a fascinating space. I really do.
And it's sort of total nerds like me as well, who just love cells and genes and molecular biology.
But we need people like you to make these things happen. I can't wait. What was the program that you used to be in the UK? Was it Tomorrow's World?
Yes, yeah.
When all of those, it was like a science program that was talking about things. I can definitely, I could see you loving that. But I don't know what the equivalent is here. Probably, I don't think there is one. But to actually see that, somebody's advertising it to say you can have this treatment and then here again. And you'll have been behind that.
Sight loss as well, and there's some amazing gene therapies and cell therapies going on in sight loss as well, and just all these other things of diabetes and Parkinson's, of just replacing bits, which is, I mean, way back into the sort of Bionic Man kind of era and all that kind of craziness that we used to watch on a Saturday afternoon.
I know, but it's here, right? Yeah, it's here, and it just needs the faith.
Yet, but we're kind of it's doable. It's all technically doable. And there are crazy people like me working on it.
Obviously you've still got your hands full with Rinri, but what does the future look like for Terri? What's still out there for you to go and try?
I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it? I had the privilege of having coaching when I was at Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult with an amazing lady called Ashlyn Bernand, who's sadly no longer with us. And one of the first things she's like, what do you want? And I was like, I really want to be CSO of a pluripotent cell therapy company. And I haven't quite got the CSO role because Marcelo got that one, but the CTO. So this kind of is my dream job. So now I'm just like, well, as long as I get to keep doing this, then, I mean, hopefully with Rinri for years to come. But it's that. And I think the other thing that I'd really, really like to do is maybe be on some like advisory boards or something like that, just to help kind of spread that experience that I have around to other companies and help with that. I did some of that when I was at Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult, and I liked kind of just helping people to do that as well. So that's something that excites me, of just being able to kind of be part of that whole collaborative network of, of sort of using my experience to hopefully help other people maybe make quicker progress.
Fantastic.
But I think the whole
keep
CTO
going there,
thing is my kind of level. I like that. I don't really fancy being a CEO. That doesn't look like quite so much fun as far as I'm concerned.
So I'm very conscious of your time, and I know we're eating into your evening. You've probably already missed EastEnders and everything else that's going on. Thank you for the recorders, those who can do those. A final thing from you. It's a tougher time for students at the moment. A lot of our viewers, listeners are currently doing biomedical courses, STEM courses. What piece of advice could you give to somebody who's in this process, but early stage, and is thinking, is there even going to be an industry for me to be in? What could you tell to help them?
I think, there will always be an industry. It changes, trends come and go, but we will always need biomedical scientists. We will always need to progress medicine. And for that, we need people doing the basic science. So we need the people who love academia to stay in academia and do what they do. We need the people to translate it. We need the people to make the money to get it there. So I genuinely believe there will always be an industry that's got a role for everybody wherever they see they fit. I think it's early on, if you'd asked me, as I said, I was hell-bent on a pure academic career, and now I find myself in a small biotech. I think it's look for opportunities and don't be scared to take them. Don't be put off by a job title. Don't be put off, certainly, as we always talk about women, don't be put off if you can only do 70% of what it says on the desired characteristics for a job. It's like, find something that you're passionate about, and it makes the hard days easier. I would say, I think having a network, and that's really hard when you're the kind of the newbie in the room and you're looking at this sea of people and like, they're not going to want to speak to me. We do. We love speaking to new people. We can catch up with our friends all the time. So I think that whole just kind of be a bit brave sometimes and go and speak to someone. And actually, I think that was one of the tips that came out of the end of the Wyatt panel. I think it was Karen was saying, don't be intimidated when you go into a room, but if you do a little bit of prep when you go into a meeting, and it's like, just look through the program, pick 5 people that you want to go up and speak to, and just have something, just have an opening kind of question of like, I'm really interested in how you made that move, when you made from that company to that company, what drove that move, or whatever it is, just a little hook that gives you, so you're not just walking up to someone going, hello, and then freezing like a rabbit in headlights. You've actually got your opening line, and you'll find that people, like, the conversation will just flow after that, but just so that it gives you that opportunity to go and just say hello to someone, speak to someone. I was at the meeting that the relaunch of the UK Stem Cell Network, which I'm super excited about, was a couple of weeks ago in Manchester, very, very rainy Manchester. And that was a lot of academics and a lot of students, a huge number of students there, which was fantastic. And we ran a translational session of like, this is the crazy stuff you can do if you leave academia. And just speaking to them afterwards, we went to sat and had lunch with a couple of students, and then just kind of mingled around and chatted to them about what excited them and what they wanted to do. And it's great to just chat to people. So I think build your network. Don't be scared of taking opportunities, even if you launch into something where on your first day you're like, what on earth have I done? Just jump into it.
Great piece of advice. Terri, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank
today.
you.
It's been fascinating talking to you. I cannot wait to be watching when the news is announced as to the fabulous work that Rinri has done, and say, I know that woman who did this. Incredible.
It's very much a team effort. I cannot take,
of course,
more than my credit, but
I'll make sure that the team get the credit as well when I'm saying I know her. I don't know the rest of the team, but I do know her, and she says she's got great teams.
They are a fantastic team.
So best of luck with
Thank
it.
you.
I know it's going to be amazing, and hopefully you make it to San Diego in February, but maybe if not, next time I'm in the UK for a slightly longer time than I'm there next week, which is
absolutely
literally for next to nothing. We can meet up and swap some more stories then.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. It was lovely to chat.
And you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. She Leads Biotech is brought to you by CNA International USA, a woman-owned boutique search firm based in New York. If you're looking to hire talent for your company or want support in achieving your career goals, please reach out to me at contact@cnaint.com. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And remember, the success of every woman should be an inspiration to another. So don't be afraid to share yours. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.